Right. First of all, Mike, can you just give an update on the injury situation? Obviously, Liam, he went off last week, and Gareth Moore with his ankle.
Yeah, Lee is out for 8 weeks,
right,
or maximum of 8 weeks, with a fracture of his cheekbone.
Right.
It's a reoccurrence of a previous injury, which he's had a couple of times previously. So he needs a longer period of rest now to ensure that settles down.
So it's just rest for that then, isn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. He's had an operation which flips out the fractured cheekbone,
right,
and then it's a matter of time really for the bone to sort of knit together. And Gareth Moore, again, we haven't had the final details of the scan, but it's ankle ligaments,
right,
and we're not quite sure in terms of the length of layoff at this time, but by the end of the week we'll know the extent of it.
Is it an indication it's a serious one, or is it you're not sure?
We're not sure at this stage. I'm just not sure.
I suppose this break in league action then is probably coming at the right time for you.
But maybe, I mean, the trouble, Gareth has had a few injuries obviously on his shoulder. He just needs game time, and it would have been a good opportunity to keep momentum going for him to play some games. So it's a bit unfortunate.
And then in terms of options, obviously Adam gave you plenty of options there last Friday, so you've got players to come in.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously had to cut our cloth accordingly this season with the number of players we've had away with Wales, which has meant there's been opportunities for players, and we've given development contracts to players like Adam. The one thing Adam has got is he's got international pace, and we're aware that if he's given a half chance, he'll make the most of his opportunity, and thankfully he had 2 half chances on the weekend, and he showed what he could do.
How are you approaching this tournament?
We're approaching this tournament as we would approach any game, whether it's Heineken or the league, and I think it's important to do that for a number of reasons. First and foremost, and I say this every year, but it is one of 3 tournaments that we're in, competitions that we're in, so it's something that we can win. But secondly, we do give opportunities to players during these periods, and for their sake they have to realise that they have to come in and perform under pressure, really. And the league is pressure, Heineken Cup is pressure, and the LV has to be pressure. And the fact that Leicester might be coming with pretty much a fully strength team is great, but it means that we've got to really be on top of our game to be competitive.
In terms of your World Cup boys, I mean, just Shawnee this weekend, will the fans be seeing the first glimpse of it? Yes,
they'll only be involved this weekend, and in terms of our World Cup players, there's no hard and fast rules. I've heard people banning about 2 weeks. That's not necessarily something that we'll go on. We look at each individual case on its own merits, and the players who are coming back could be in action pretty soon after come back, if they haven't played in that many games. If they're in the frame of mind where they want to get back to playing as soon as possible, we'll just take every player on an individual basis, and that's how we're going to manage it when they do come back.
Regardless of what happens this weekend, Nigel, what do you think you'll be getting when the likes of George, John Davis, Reece come back here?
Well, I think everybody can see the qualities that those players belong to on an individual basis, but now they've had the opportunity to play at a World Cup against the best teams in the world, and they've proved themselves to be exciting individuals, and they're going to come back with a lot of confidence, a lot of belief, which will be great from their point of view, be great from our point of view, and great from all the players around them as well.
Will you see some sort of leadership, I suppose, in the fact they see themselves as perhaps?
Well, they'll have gone up a notch or two. There's no doubt about that, and I think we saw it with Matthew Reece in the Lions tour. He came back and he was a different personality, and these guys will be exactly the same. They'll have gone up a notch or two, and this game is about ability, and those boys have got bags of ability, but it's also about confidence and belief. And one of the things that we talk about here, and these boys will have been exposed to that, is that we don't set ourselves any limits in terms of what we can or can't achieve, because as we all go through life, people tell us how good or bad we are or aren't, and those things tend to stick. But when they come into this environment, we try and say, well, boys, it's up to you. If you believe you can or believe you can't, you're probably right. And it's about mindset, and these boys have probably shown that, that in the Welsh jersey, anything is possible. You're only limited by really yourselves, and they've shown now what they're capable of, and I hope they're going to come back with that mental strength of mind as well.
You must take a lot of pride personally, Nigel, in terms when you see boys you've thrown in at 18 years old or 20 years old, all of a sudden being hailed as some of the stars of the world game.
Yeah, I think it's very pleasing, and nobody would have known half the players in the Welsh team this time last year. So it proves a number of things. I think that the work the regions are doing is very positive, and the fact that they're blooding these youngsters and giving them the opportunity has been very positive, and Wales have benefited from that, I think, which is great, which is what the system is about.
I mean, Scott and George were playing the LV Cup here against Leeds last year. I remember 12 months ago. So.
Yeah, and I remember Scott he was playing in the RFC before that, and he was going okay, but we knew that he had potential to develop, and I think we saw that at the end of our season last season, and he's kicked on from there, which is brilliant.
And it's great. John last weekend with that try against Ireland. I mean,
John has he's proven to us that he can do it at our level. He's taken time for him to actually translate that to the international arena. We've seen glimpses of it, but I thought he had his best game by a long shot on the weekend, and he can do that. That's the type of thing that John can do, but he's not alone there. We've got George North, we've got Rhys Priestland, Scott Williams, who's done that type of thing. Sean Lamont's been doing it for Scotland on the back of having Stodds. So when we get this backline near near full strength, they're going to be some force.
And give you a couple of headaches as well.
Well, there's some nice headaches, which is great, because there's a lot of boys standing up now as well. And the big emphasis for us this period of time has been our set piece, because I know from experience of the last couple of years, when we've come up against the big teams in Europe, we've lost out because our set piece hasn't been good enough. It's been a big focus of ours in the early part of the season, because we want a set piece that will compete with anybody, because if we can do that and have parity there, I think we've got the quality to be very, very competitive.
And I suppose Leicester are an example of that on the other side, who built their success around a strong scrum.
Well, what they did to us last year was that they took our set piece away. They had a very dominant set piece themselves, and they looked to beat us up. We're aware of that, and to a large degree we were sort of humbled in those areas, but we want to come back strong this year.
So almost that lesson at Leicester came to you here at set piece time. It's something that you've taken on board.
I think it's something on reflection over the last 2 years in Europe, when we've come up against the big teams, has been a factor. Perpignan was the same. It's just an area that we have to be able to compete in, and not just on the odd occasion. It's every time, and it gives you a platform to build off, and also hopefully it takes something away from the opposition. And I've been delighted with the way our scrum has gone in particular this year. There's a lot to build on there. We've still got Matthew hasn't played yet, and he adds a lot more to the scrum again. So we're building not only for the immediate, but looking ahead at some of the fixtures to come. And when we start back our league, 2 big games, one against Ulster here, and then the Ospreys away. And again, traditionally the Ospreys have been very dominant in the set piece against us.
In terms of Matthew, are you any clearer about when he's likely to be coming back?
He's on track. We're targeting him to have some game time, either probably against Ulster.
Right, was when the league, which is pretty soon now.
So that's when we targeted him.
But he's itching to get back, doesn't he?
And he's training with us now. He's he's contributing greatly, and having players like this come back to a very young squad who are still learning themselves, but to have people like Matthew and Sean Lamont come back into the squad, just to have their voice and their experience and their confidence helps a lot.